I can't believe that you came into my life. You made me feel again, now it's my turn. You say you've always been a little bit shy, but I can put an end to your fears. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you? I know it's hard for you to give it a try, but you are not alone. I'm here with you. I think you owe it to this beautiful night to lose all your control. Do it for you. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you? Don't be afraid, just let go of your fears, 'cause you know you can do it, baby. Dance them away. Now you know how it feels, now you know you can do it, baby. And let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you? I can't believe that you came into my life. You made me feel again, now it's my turn. You say you've always been a little bit shy, but I can put an end to your fears. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you? I know it's hard for you to give it a try, but you are not alone. I'm here with you. I think you owe it to this beautiful night to lose all your control. Do it for you. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Yeah, spin for me. Won't you?
friends, it's Walter Zimrock with the Brutus Monroe Inspiration Team coming to you today with a really fun project that's going to use the Pirate Party stamp set that was released a month or two ago, as well as the treasure map stencil. And I'm also going to be using some brown aqua pigment, some peach aqua pigment, and we're going to put on some gilded as well. And I'm going to be using this wooden book box that I had purchased at one of the big brand craft stores. And the reason why I'm doing this is because a friend of mine, her son, is an avid collector of like the Pokemon cards and all of those types of cards. She's always, yelling at him to pick up your cards, put them away, find a spot for them. And I thought that this would be a really cool treasure box that I could make using the Pirate Party stamps and the treasure map stencil to go ahead and give them a box to put some of those cards. There is a magnetic closure on it, but I'm going to do something else to after I'm done with designing it, to go ahead and make sure that it stays closed for him so that it doesn't fly open and have all the cards come out. In regards to the aqua pigments, I already tested a little area here to make sure that the brown and the peach will go onto the wood. It dries quickly. It actually looks really good. So I'm really happy in the way that that's going to go ahead and stain this wood. So without further ado, let's get started. So in order to start, I want to know where I'm going to lay things out in advance. That's just the way I like to craft. And so I know that I'd like the treasure map stencil right in the center there. And then I have the boy pirate, one of the girl pirates on that side, corner. Then I have the other girl pirate who's facing the other direction, as well as the treasure chest and the parrot up on those sides. And then up at the top, it's going to say ahoy matey. So I know that with putting these on the top, I'm going to want to use the lighter peach color. And the great thing about that is that it'll blend in for the skin tones. And if I color over, let's say like the parrot and their clothing, it's light enough that the colors I'm putting over it with alcohol markers will go ahead and cover up that lighter. And I'm probably just going to put a little bit of dark, like definitely up here at the top and a little coming down the edges, and then have the peach in the center. When I go to paint the rest of the book box, I'm going to use mostly the brown, since it's nice and dark coming around on the sides and on the back. And then I think I'm going to take some gilded and just come along the edges of the covers, both sides, and just kind of like, really make it pretty cool looking. So I'm going to start now with going ahead and painting that top cover. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little palette that has some wells in it in order to hold the aqua pigment and make it easier to go ahead and get onto my paintbrush. So I'm just going to roll that around to get pigment distributed. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take 2 to 3 really good size pours of that into there. I don't want to waste it. And the good thing is if I need to come back for more, it's obviously easy enough to do that. So then I'm just going to go ahead and get some onto my paintbrush. And even though I'm going to add some dark around the sides, I am going to still start with the peach just to make it a uniform going across. And it's really just like, just like painting a wall or painting anything in general, just coming across. And I could just go ahead and leave it like the lighter wood color, but I do want to make it look like it's actually kind of older. And I think this will dry really nicely and it's going to dry lighter than what you're seeing here. And it's just going to give it a nice amount of depth with that wood. And I am going to have to put some more in there. I was almost right. I think maybe 4 would have been enough. We'll try that. It's hard to get it back in the bottle, so I don't want to end up taking too much out. Again, don't want to waste it. And as you're doing this, once you're done with this, and it doesn't have to be perfect by any means, not looking for perfection, just looking for coverage. You can even go right over those hinges to make sure you're getting in between there, using it all up. And like I said, we're going to end up putting brown on there anyway, so even if there is some variation, it doesn't matter because it just adds to the overall aesthetic of the box. So once you're done with that, you want to let that dry before moving on. And so you can let it dry naturally, or you can use, I actually keep an old hair dryer around for cases like this because it doesn't get as hot as your heat gun and it will help speed up the drying. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply a low heat to that to speed it up. Okay, so that looks fantastic. I love it. There's some variation in the colors. I just think it's really, really nice. And now I want to go in just to kind of like darken it up around the edges, as I had mentioned with the brown. I do keep a jar of water off to the side that I can use to go ahead and rinse my paintbrush off. That's always helpful. In between colors, I wouldn't necessarily worry about like having the peach on with the brown, but vice versa, I would. I wouldn't want to have the brown on the brush if I was going into the peach, because that would definitely darken it up. So I'm just going to do 2 droppers of the brown to start off. I went ahead and washed off my brush, pick some up. And I don't want a ton, but I just want to come over. And as you come around, just, you don't have to go too far in, but just a little bit to go ahead and kind of give it a darker look. And it doesn't have to be straight. You can easily just go in a pattern like that that's kind of edged. I think that adds to the fun of it. Kind of makes it look like a treasure box. And so then you just come down the sides, get that on there. And I'm going to do the same down here. Don't worry too much about drips because we're going to be painting the rest of it anyway. So now, similar to what I did with the peach, I'm going to speed up the drying with the hair gun. Look at that. How beautiful is that? And how fun. I really, really love that. The next step is I want to get the top decorated first before I paint the rest of it. So I want to go ahead and get my stencil on. And that's going to be really easy. I'm just going to go ahead and position my stencil. And I'm going to get out my Post-it tape to hold that down. It won't do anything to the to what you just painted, so don't worry about that. And the easy thing is I'm going to do it in brown, but then I'm going to go in with some additional detail after the ink is dry, to kind of add in some accent colors. So get that tape down. And the ink I'm going to use on this is also sold at Brutus Monroe, and it's the fabulous Gur brown ink from Simon Hurley. It's a great color. It's going to look really good on there. So I'm going to grab my brown blending brush, and I'm going to get to work, starting up there and just going ahead and getting that ink on there. I may end up doing it a couple of times to make sure it's as dark as I like, or, you know, the way I like it, which is fine. It may take a couple, but I can already see that since we used the peach, it is, it looks like it's going down really nice onto the wood, which I expected because with it being an alcohol ink, there's no reason why it shouldn't. And what's also cool is it's going to look like the, kind of like the burned, you know, the wood burning. It's going to look like that on there, which I think is really cool. And is how they probably would have done a treasure map on a wooden box like this back in the pirate days. So it's going to have that same effect, which I think is super cool. Jackson's my little buddy. That's my friend's son who I'm making this for, and I always have a good time with the kid. He has such an imagination. One year for his birthday, I went ahead and bought him this backyard exploration kit and a bunch of plastic bugs because he was really into bugs at the time. And when he opened it, he loved it. And it came like with a vest and a hat and a net and tweezers and vials and all of that. And he and I went outside. I hid some bugs and we went on a bug hunt, and that was just a ton of fun. And he's one of the funniest kids I have ever met. You never know what this kid is going to say. So I'm happy to, like, you know, make a project like this for him because he's just a really great kid. So I'm going over one more time. Then I'm going to take the hairdryer and dry it, and then I'm likely to come back and do one or two more passes with the ink. Let's see how it looks after dry. Okay, so I can see that actually looks really good and dark in those areas, like, you know, compared to the peach areas, but I do want to darken it just a bit more. And so I'm gonna go over at least one more time with the ink, just to make sure. And if there's some variation in, like, you know, across these steps and stuff like that, perfect, because it just gives it that aged weather look. I love vintage style crafting, and this falls right in line with that because I'm purposely trying to make it look older, which I just think is a lot of fun. Something I really enjoy, even in card making. Okay, I think that's going to be really good. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to take that off. And, you know, something you could do if you wanted is, I have this brush that still has lots of black on it. You could, you could just lightly go over it with the black too to darken it up a bit. And that would look fine because that actually adds like a little bit of grunge into the brown, which I think is fun. So that's not a bad idea. And I don't want a ton. I don't want it to turn black. I just want it to be darkened a bit. So I think I am happy with that. Let's go ahead and get the stencil off. Don't throw these pieces of tape out because I'll use them again and again until they just stop sticking. As I like die cut and things like that. Oh, look at that. That is so fun. I love that there's some variations, a little lighter, darker, you know, even throughout the steps. That's just so much fun. I absolutely love that. I'm gonna put some heat on it just to make sure that it's dry before moving on to the next step. Completely dry, as you can see, nothing coming off on my hands. I mean, I could honestly leave it just like that and think that's really cool. I'm sure Jackson would think that's really cool. But I'd like to add some, you know, some people into it. And so I have the stamps that I had mentioned before that I wanted to use. And I think Now, I've never stamped on wood. Stenciling's one thing, and as you can see, that works just fine. Stamping I've yet to try, and it could be a little risky because you don't want to ruin your project. But here's the good news. If I don't like the way the stamps look, I can always go ahead and stamp them onto some white cardstock, color them, and then go ahead and glue that cardstock down onto the wood, and it'll be just fine. So it can always be covered up. So I say, why not try it first? See how, because that's the look I'm going for, and see if it works. And I wanted the Ahoy Matey up there, and that I might do in black just to make sure it can be seen through both of those colors. Now, in order to do this, you obviously can't use a regular, stamping platform. But I am glad that my stamping platform, the top of it comes off. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead, and I'm actually going to move these out of the way for right now because I don't think I want to try to do them all at the same time. I am going to do them side by side though and see how that turns out. So I'm going to take the first ones onto the platform. Now the key is make sure that you line it up, the bottom of the platform, with your box so that you know exactly where you want to go with those. Just as easy as that. So I had mentioned that I wanted to do the Ahoy Matey saying in black, and in order to achieve that, I'm going to use the VersaFine Clair. It's a pigment ink, so it will I'm not going to color over that, so I don't have to worry about that going ahead and running. For the people themselves, since I want an ink that I can color with, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Brutus Monroe Raven, and I'm going to stamp them, and I'm going to get a good amount of ink on there because I'm going to try not to have to restamp them. I'd like to do it in the first pass, and using black, if that's the case, the great thing is you can always, if something looks a little light or off, you can always go in later with a fine tip black detail marker and go ahead and correct it. So now remember, I had said let's line it up so that the edge is there. That looks good. Okay, let's see how it goes. Give it a good amount of pressure down on it, making sure that you're pressing on each stamp so that you can get that ink onto there. And if I'm not happy with it, like I said, I can always go ahead and stamp them onto paper and it will cover that right up. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That looks good, but it is a little light, which is fine because you do want this to look faded. The Ahoy Matey really didn't come out too well, so I might do that one separately with an acrylic, a smaller acrylic block. And I can come in and fill in some of those missing parts, but I don't want to mess with that too much because that actually looks pretty decent for stamping directly onto the wood. So I'm going to take off my Ahoy Matey and take off these two from my stamping platform. And I'll clean those up when I'm done. Now I'm going to place my other stamps on there where I'd like them. Yeah, and I'm actually quite happy with the way that that looks. Perhaps, you know, I needed to press a little bit more over here, but that's an easy fix. I'm not worried about that. want the parrot showing up there. So now, similar to the first time, I want to align that with the bottom lip of the box. Pick those up. And let's get them inked. So take my raven. Give it a good amount of ink. Ooh, I hope that the parrot, I don't want him to smudge. So I'm going to come in and actually remove that and then go back over him a little bit more carefully because I don't want that to smudge. So I pressed a little too hard with him. Although one could say that even if there is a little bit of smudging, since we're going for an older look, that's not a bad thing. And I wouldn't disagree with that. I noticed I got ink here. Let's get that cleaned up before we press it down. And let's line that up. Now again, making sure that we like where they're being placed. I'm going to move that out of the way. And that bottom lip is there because that's just my guide. I'm going to go over a bit. Let's press them down. And you want to make sure that you're not moving the stamping platform plate as you do this, because that would cause some smudging and some blurring. So keep it held down pretty firmly and just press on top. Don't make a motion like that. I'm just going to do one more good one. And let's see. Ooh, that one needs a little bit of work. Okay, let's try it again. I'm going to take the parrot off this time because the parrot came out fine. It's the treasure chest and the girl. So let's try that again. Maybe I didn't get enough ink on there. That should be good. And the trick now, since they didn't go as well, is again, use your that's why I wanted to make sure it was lined with the bottom lip so that I can, you might see my head if that's the case. Make sure the bottom lip is there, and then I can see where that image was. There's the treasure chest, there's the girl. Let's give it a try. It would be a shame, since the other two came out pretty well, to not have these two, but let's see how it looks. I almost moved it there, but luckily I caught it. Good news is this is the toughest part of this project. It's all going to be pretty easy after this. Let's take a look. We got a little double, and the girl still isn't adhering. Okay, we are going to resort to step 2, which is to stamp them onto the white cardstock, fussy cut them, and then put them on top. Okay, I'm being stubborn. I can make the treasure chest look fine. Since it's just this one girl, I'm going to be stubborn. And again, since it can be covered up, I'm going to try it one more time, this time with a smaller block stamper. And what I'm going to do to make sure that I am getting her is to line the corner of the block stamper up with over here. Let's try it one more time. What is it they say? Third time's a charm? Let's see if that works in stamping on wood. If not, we have an alternate plan, so I'm not too concerned, but I do want to get this lined up because up here she looks okay. And when you're coloring in the hair, like not much of her face is there, so that can be fixed, and coloring in her hair will fix that. But what you want to do is get that rest looking good, so then you know that you can go ahead and take that approach. That looks lined up. Let's try it. Again, being careful not to move that stamping block around and smudge it. And if the ink doesn't take this time, I'm going to think that it's something with the wood, perhaps. Because this is a much smaller surface now, and we can apply more pressure. Yay, it worked, and she looks amazing. I am so happy about that. It eliminates the need for fussy cutting. So I'm just going to clean up these stamps, get them put away, and we'll start with doing some coloring. Okay, now that that's dry, one thing I also did as I was cleaning up my stamps is I realized that I had forgotten to stamp the Ahoy Matey. I got that taken care of. So now it's just going to be going in and doing some coloring and maybe a little bit of filling in some lines. And so I'm going to take just a fine tip marker just to do some filling in. And there's not a lot of it that has to happen here, but it's really just tracing down those areas that didn't quite get enough ink, kind of filling them in. And once you get this colored anyway, it's not even going to be that noticeable. But it's just something the perfectionist in me likes to try to get done. So let's start with, I'm not going to color the skin since I used the peach and that lighter color looks fine to me. So I'm going to go ahead and start up here with the boy, and I'm going to start with his clothing, and just go ahead and you can just color directly onto here. Great thing is you can go right over the ink, fill that in, and it just, you know, because we had the peach on there and it's the wood, it just, you know, it gives it a vintagey type of look. And the wood just takes that alcohol marker so well, which is great. So we have his pants. I'm going to fill in his little bandana here, that same color. And I'm using my Spectrum Noir Triblends for this because, you know, you get 3 in 1 and you know the colors are going to work together, which is always nice. Make that a little lighter. Then up here for his shirt, I'm going to use these blues. And then we can move on to the middle one. And if you wanted to do different stripes, you could. You know, it's whatever floats your boat. I'm really going for more substance here than style, if you will. Simply because it is on the wood. And then I can go in and just kind of darken it up a bit if I need to add some more change to it. Another thing you can do is just take a different color if you want to kind of really make it distinct, and you can go right over with that color. So we could easily come in here with some green and change that up. He looks great. do the hair and stuff in just a bit, and the shoes. I'm just working on the clothing right now. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do the shoes because I have that marker available. So I'm just going to fill that in. Going to do just a brown-like boot. And I can see where I just need to fill in here on his pants for the cuffs. And you know what? May as well do the cuffs on his wrist too. While we're at it, then we can move on to the young lady here. And again, color as you see fit. Things don't have to, you know, go a certain way. It's whatever you like. And whatever you think the recipient's gonna like. Since I did that dark, I'm gonna come in and do a lighter for that undershirt. Here, I'm going to use the middle one and then come back in and fill those dots with the lighter. You don't even have to color these if you didn't want to. I'm choosing to, but it's not by any means a necessity. It's not something you have to do. I'm doing it just because I wanted to. And for that belt, I'm going to use the lighter. And we'll come back and do the buckle in a bit. Moving on to the next one, I'm going to use a different shade of purple with her. Actually, I'm going to do the middle one on those pants. And if it bleeds out a little bit, I'm not too worried about it. You just got to go a little lighter if you notice that happening. But it's really not a big deal because there's something else I'm going to do towards the end that will help cover that up. And this goes really quick because these markers just flow on this wood really easily. Now, if the wood happened to be like very an uneven surface, I probably would not have done it this way. Because, you know, it could look a little choppy and uneven, but I actually like the way that is looking. And then I'm actually going to come in here with that lighter purple from over there just to add some color into that belt. Then we'll come back to do her hair, and we'll do her shoes, a medium brown. I had thought about black, but since I have the brown, may as well use that. There's that. Now I'm going to come up and do our pirate next. Our parrot, not pirate. We were just doing pirates. I'm kind of going with a traditional green for the parrot, but I'm definitely going to work in some lighter color. And to do that, I'm going to grab some yellow for his chest area before I start to do the green, just so that that's already there and I can work around that. And since I did the yellow there, I'm going to do a lighter green on his chest to blend that in. I like that. And then I'm going to do a medium on the rest of his body. And again, it can be whatever you'd like it to be. And then we'll do the wood on the chest. I think for that, I'm going to start with the middle one. And I can always go over with some of the lighter. And I'm definitely going to use some of the lighter in the center, but I'm going a little darker because I definitely wanted to cover up some of that double stamping. And this will help do that. Now I can come in here with the lighter. And I am going to come back with some gold to do the lock and some gold accents. So we have that to look forward to. Then I'm just going to come in over here and darken that up. And so by the time we're done, you're not even going to be able to tell that there was any kind of double stamping that happened. For the gold, I'm going to try a gold gel pen first and see if that will take here, and it will. So that's how I'm going to take care of the gold, is by just coming in with a gold gel pen and filling that in. And again, I want to mention, and I know I've said it a few times, but we're not going for perfection here, because there's going to be another technique we do that will make this look a little different as well. And that's going to be to add some aging on over what we color here. But look at that. As you fill that in, you can't even really see the double stamp. So this was a nice way to go ahead and correct that. So it's always fun to look for the easy way to fix things. He won't even notice. That looks great. Oh, you know what? Now is the time I can also add in the gold on the belt buckle, since I have that out. And I wanted to do the gold buckles on his shoes. And on hers. There's that. We have to do their hair. And I have to do the parrot's beak. So let's get that colored in. There's that. Okay, so for hair, I am going to do a light brown over here, since I have that out. Real easy to fill in and make work. So there's her hair. For the young lad, I think we'll give him a blonde. So we're going to go in with some yellow And then what I can do to, if I feel it's, no, that's not too yellow. That looks fine for him. That'll work. That'll work just fine. And for her, let's go in. Oh, let's see. Let's get a, oh, here's a nice, this will look good. I'm gonna do her hair in this gold yellow. Give her like a darker blonde. There. I think they look great. I do want to add a little color where their tongues are. And so I'm going to grab a pink and just fill that, since you can see it there, just to get that colored. I think it looks great. And that, like I said, there's going to be something else we're going to do here that will go ahead and change it up a little bit. But for the time being, that looks amazing. Now, another thing you can do is just to add a little bit of color down into the map area. And to do that, I'm going to use a turquoise and just come in and color in between, on top and in between those brown stamped lines. And for up on the volcano, I want to grab a really bright orange. But I want, this is a burnt orange, and I think I'm going to go with the middle one here and just fill in over. You could do red. I kind of like the orange. It's a little bit more subtle. There, I think that's really fun. And last but certainly not least, if you want to add in some green onto the palm tree, I think that's a fabulous idea. Again, just a way to incorporate some more color. There, that's a lot of fun. And that coloring is done. That easy. So the next step is going to be painting the rest of the box. Okay, for painting the rest of the box, I'm not going to paint the inside. I'm going to leave that lighter color, just because it really doesn't, it's not that important. But I know I'm going to use a lot of brown on the outside. So I'm going to put several droppers in there to fill that up, because I know I'm going to use it. I'm going to start with 4. And carefully, I am going to end up putting gold along here, but I'd like to start with a little bit of the brown. So, and I don't want it to leak and stain like, you know, other parts. So I want to do this carefully, but just come along. And if you get a little on the edge there, that's no problem. That's one of the reasons why I had went ahead and incorporated into the design putting the brown along the top cover there, because if you do end up getting any, it's just going to enhance that. So it's not a big deal. And when I do the gold along these edges, I'll use a smaller brush. But for right now, this one will work just fine. Just to get some color on there. And the wood just soaks this up, which is good. good. Now I'm going to do the spine of the book box. And, you know, when you're painting like this, try to go with the grain just so that it flows better. And it will look better, too, as it dries. Something you can do if you'd like to personalize this is after this is done, you can always write their name or write a message on the spine here, which I think would look kind of cool. And in order to do that, you can use any kind of like a gold metallic marker and just directly write it. I mean, you could use dies and cut out letters if you'd like. That would look great, certainly. Since that top is dry and we just used the alcohol ink, I'm going to move on to the back here. And then once I'm done with the back, I am going to take the hair dryer to it to go ahead and dry it down a bit. And this is where I suspect, you know, with all of the surface that we have back here, we may need to add in some more of the aqua pigment to go ahead and get this back covered. But that's fine, I have plenty of it. I love the way that the brown aqua pigment, you know, stains it, and it just gives it that deeper dark wood look. That is, I'm really happy with this. I really do enjoy making cards, but doing a project like this can also be fun, and it shows you how you can stretch the materials that you're buying at Brutus Monroe into these awesome designs like this. I mean, this is just one idea for a box like this. I have a few others, and that are not for kids, they're for adults, and I think that would be some gifts that would make really nice Christmas gifts. So as we get closer to Christmas, be on the lookout. I'll probably have another video on how to create a box like this, but with a different design for an adult. These wooden book boxes, they're not that expensive. As I mentioned, I had bought them at a big box craft store. I'm not going to mention the name. I had bought a carton of them, and I think there's 8 in the carton. And they were only like, geez, I want to say not even $40. So they're pretty inexpensive, and you can turn them into something that looks nice. I'm going to go ahead and apply a low heat to this to get it dried, and we can move on with more paint. Look at how gorgeous that is when it dries. So nice. And such a difference. I mean, that's looking great. Now I just have to paint the other sides, and we will we'll be all set to move on to adding on the gold. Okay, I put some of the gilded in. I absolutely love gilded. It is my absolute favorite embossing powder for gold. It's just amazing. Always consistent results with it, and it's just the best looking gold I've ever seen. And for the gold accents, we're really just going to go around the edges. And the inspiration for that came from, you know, those, I mean, I'm not going to do in the center there, but some of those collector edition books that have the gold trimmed paper. Those always look nice. And this just adds that little bit of flair, which for a young kid, you normally don't worry too much about flair, but I just want it to look really nice. Because it's also something that, you know, once he's done with, he could put on display in his bedroom. And knowing my friend Katie, she will hold on to it well after Jackson is older, and perhaps even he'll want to hang on to it. You never know. But these handmade gifts are just, I really enjoy them. Let someone know how much you care for his sister, who's older than him. I made a really nice light up shadow box that has all hand rolled paper flowers inside of it, and the letter of her first initial. And I made those for another friend's daughters as well. Just again, nice little birthday gift that's a little bit different, something that they normally probably wouldn't find out in a store. And if they did, they'd be so expensive. I see that I got a little gold down on my mat, so I'll wipe that up in a minute just to be careful and not, hopefully, have it get onto anything I've already worked on. This is just so relaxing for me. Crafting in general always is, card making certainly is, but you know, these types of projects too. I really enjoy them. And this doesn't have to, be solid gold. That's not the purpose. But if you want to come over and touch anything up and fix something, you certainly can do that. I don't know if I'll add another layer there. That actually looks pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this overall. So we're almost done. I'm just going to get that cleaned up and apply a little bit of the blow dryer onto this just to make sure it's dry. Okay, so that's now dry. Look at that. I just love it. I love it. Last step for the top before I add on the closure is I want to add some more quote-unquote grunge or aging onto the top. I'm going to lightly mist it. If you don't have the tea stain, this is the apricot tea stain, in your crafting arsenal of items from Brutus Monroe, you really need to get some. This stuff is amazing. Just going to lightly mist it, and I put an old rag underneath. And all I'm looking for is just some age spots. Just to make it look a little older. The other item I'm going to use on top of that is the Ice Gray Vintage Mist. You don't need a lot of it, but just to darken it a little bit before I start to dry it. That's just going to make it look a little older. Then I'm just going to take that hairdryer and I'm going to go ahead and apply some heat onto there, and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, for the additional closure, I have some of these. They're just little like brads that I got on Amazon, and it'll be good because I can have an elastic type of string coming up from the bottom that will go around that. And so there's two ways that I'm going to go ahead and get that stuck down there to be on the safe side. I'm going to start by, I know where I want it to be, which is in the center, about where that magnet is. So we know where the magnet is. We know that that's right about there. And so I'm going to put some craft glue there. That's one layer of protection. The other thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and use some super glue. And as I went to open my super glue, the tip was stuck inside and it came off. So I'm going to be very careful. I grabbed a paper towel. I'm going to go ahead and grab a cotton swab and soak it in the super glue. Get that saturated. Pick up that brad. Careful not to get your fingers. Believe it or not, I have super glued my fingers before. Yes, I have. I've super glued them closed. Not one of my prouder moments, but something I can at least laugh about. And honestly, if you want to make sure that you're going to make sure you have some on there, you can also just quickly, I'm sure you won't have the same issue that I have, but with your tip, then quickly just do that and let that go ahead and dry. And that's going to be really on there nice and solid. And I can already tell you that it is, which is great. So we have that part done. Now I'm just going to measure out some of that kind of like bungee string, get it attached to the back, and show you how I'm going to loop it. This is the roll of that bungee string, I call it. It's, you know, springy, that I was just telling you about. And you don't need a huge piece of it because you want there to be some, you know, you want it to have tension. And so I'm thinking something along the lines of that is probably going to be good. And I can always cut some off if I don't need it all. But that's how I measure. And then what we're going to do is we're going to attach it to the back of the book box. Put that back on and move those to the side. Now, we know we want that to go around there to help with keeping it closed. And we want it to stretch. Stretch is good because that's going to make it stay closed. So 2 things I'm going to do to go ahead and get that attached once I can. Well, I'll start with one side and then do the other. So I need my stapler. I'm going to both staple and put a little bit of glue there to keep this held down. So, and my regular stapler works on wood like this. So I just line it up. Oh, well, I want to make sure it's going to be right. So let's try to get them both around the same time. And if I'm holding that down, that will stretch. And yeah, that'll be good. So right there is going to be fine. So I'm just going to line up my stapler. If you have a staple gun, you can certainly use that. And try that again. I may have to get the staple gun. Yeah, it's what it's looking like, isn't it? I did this once before and it worked just fine. You know what I think I need to do? I think I need to... There we go. That's why it wasn't. Gotta just put a little strength in it, you know? I was being a little too easy with it. There, I do want to watch my finger. So I'm going to move that up. Got one end, got the other. Good. And you can reinforce that with some glue. Could even be the super glue because that will go ahead and dry really quickly. So since I have that, I may as well actually. And all I'm going to do, I don't want a lot, just a little bit. Put that there. And since it's on the back, it's not going to matter. In regards to like marking or making it look bad in any way. And the wood just kind of drinks that up anyways. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'll come back to show you that closure. That's all dry. You can see that's not going anywhere. Just pull it up, put it around that little brad, that knob. That's not going to open on its own. So now, in addition to that light magnet that's there, Jackson will have the added protection of that being there. I think one last thing that I'd like to do, I'm going to take a little bit of the gur on my brown blending brush, and again, just to add some additional age, I'm just going to come in with some of that. And I just want to randomly apply some, just to age it. I could also go ahead and do another mist of the of either the apricot stain or the ice gray, but they already added, I mean, you can see the little gray tone in there. They already added a lot to this, and I'm just a big fan of what I call grunge. That dirty, aged looking feel to it. I think that's perfect. I am really pleased with how this turned out. I think this is going to be a perfect box for Jackson to keep his cards in. Again, if you want to do the inside, feel free. You know, that's not completely level, but it's not going to be an impediment by any means of keeping it down. And that's the project with the Pirate Party stamp set and the treasure hunt map. I think it looks great. I hope you agree. Thanks for spending some time here.